Hello everyone. Thank you for joining me as I review my Capstone Applied Research project. My name is John Phillips. I have 5 years of teaching experience that range from 7th and 8th grade math to 5th and 4th grade. I am currently the technology teacher at New Holland Knowledge Academy. I received my bachelor's degree from the University of North Georgia, my master's degree from Valdosta State University, and I am a candidate for the Ed.S program at Kennesaw State University. I serve on the technology team, the induction team, the Goal 1 team, and serve as the instructional technology specialist for my school. My applied research project focused on the academic and engagement effects of integrated technology in elementary math education. I chose this topic because of my interest in both math education and technology. I was intrigued by the opportunity to seek out evidence for or against the implementation of integrated technology in mathematics curricula. I saw no formal integrated technology in the math curriculum at New Holland, and I had encountered research that suggested that integrated technology could have positive effects in the classroom. In order to gather data, I determined that a mixed method study would be most effective. I used a combination of survey, observations, and pre- and post-test data to answer my research questions and draw conclusions. Before I began my own observations, I conducted extensive research into studies that had already been completed. My first stop in research was how technology found its way into the classroom. I found that computer-based instruction based around the operant conditioning research of B.F. Skinner was the first wave of technology in the classroom. These CBIs were designed to improve recall and other skills that score low on Bloom's taxonomy. Next, I wanted to see how technology is currently used in the classroom. The studies that I found concluded that the most effective use of technology was for the creation of authentic learning products. The studies also noted, however, that even the most expensive and up-to-date technology was quickly outdated and had to be replaced. This brought me to the problem of funding. Study after study gave evidence to suggest that rural communities could not keep up with the constant change of technology. These studies offered that Title I funding and grants could solve some of the monetary issues faced by these rural communities. However, it was noted that no matter how advanced the technology becomes in the schools, the students will still be limited by the technology available to them at home. I decided to dive into specific technologies used in the classroom in order to see how they impact student learning. One study followed a class and its use of interactive tabletops in mathematics instruction. This observational study found that math scores did rise with the use of interactive tabletops. However, so did the behavior problems. Particularly with boys, groups would quickly become aggravated and frustrated with one another. This led to an increase of behavior management problems in the classroom. I also dove into the impact that one-to-one laptops had in the classroom. One study found that students using laptops in a high socioeconomic area were expected to produce products using the laptops that show evidence of learning. And this was very different from the passive role that students in low socioeconomic areas were expected to play while using laptops. The study called this practice the pedagogy of poverty. I was interested in the effects of technology on student attitudes. One study found that there was a misguided assumption that technology will automatically increase student engagement. This study concluded that engagement was an intrinsic value. The study found that students who were engaged by integrated technology were the same students who would be engaged with paper and pencil work. The authors of this study suggested that the appreciation and engagement level for technology stemmed from the teacher to the students. These authors also concluded that there was a severe lack of technology professional development available, and that the more often technology was used in the classroom, the more common skills such as differentiating between left and right and reading an analog clock diminished. Finally, I researched what others before me had concluded about the use of technology in student achievement. One study found that compared to a control group, the experimental group showed higher academic growth. The same study found that students using integrated technology evolved into a more student-centered learning environment compared to the control group, which remained a student-centered learning environment. The authors of this study also found that small group activities using technology were the most effective and that more technology professional development was needed. Building a foundation of knowledge based on prior research allowed me to design and implement my own mixed methods research study. In my study, I observed 2 fourth-grade classes simultaneously that were both engaged in Common Core mathematics instruction. The control group was composed of 21 students. The majority of the students were Hispanic, and 2 qualified for gifted education and 1 qualified for special ed. The intervention or experimental class was composed of 24 students. Like the control class, the majority was Hispanic. 1 student qualified for gifted, while another qualified for special ed. 100% of the participants qualified for free or reduced lunch. I observed both classes for the duration of 1 unit. Both classes were teaching the same content. However, the intervention or experimental class taught the concept using integrated technology. The technology ranged from iPads and laptop carts to blogs and online activities. To observe, I used behavior instruments that allowed me to quantify the students' behavior and engagement. I also used surveys to measure perception of learning and overall enjoyment of the class. Finally, pre- and post-test data were collected to show the amount of growth and improvement in both classes. The 2 questions that I used to guide my research were, how does instructional technology affect learning, and how does instructional technology affect engagement? I found, using the pre- and post-test data, that even though both classes showed growth, the intervention class scored 5 percentage points higher on average than the control group. Using the behavior instruments, I found that the intervention group showed 2 times the average level of engagement than the students in the control group. The surveys also showed that students' perception of learning was higher in the experimental group, and that students in the experimental group had a higher level of enjoyment while learning. After completing 2 semesters of research and observation, I have a reinforced belief in the importance of integrated technology in the classroom. This applied research study gave me the opportunity to gather and quantify data using observational tools and assessment data. To build on this research, I recommend that future studies focus on one group of students. I believe that by observing and quantifying data from one group of students only, the researcher can eliminate outside variables and challenges that I encountered. I would also recommend using a larger group of students. Doing so will increase the data's validity and reliability. Further research by separating data by gender and by ethnicity may also reveal important and practical information. Thank you again for your time and your interest in my Capstone Applied Research Study into the academic and engagement effects of integrated technology in elementary math education.